Welcome to Season 3 of Unspoken Truth. This will be a journey of breaking generational curses, spiritual ties, while we live in our purpose, and to become one with our higher selves through breaking chains of poverty consciousness and understanding the power of attraction, and always aiming to be better versions of ourselves and vibrating in our frequencies. Join me on this journey of discovering unspoken truths and changing the narrative. This is from a woman who's just like you, a mother, a sister, a daughter, and God's child. And in everything else in between, I am still an individual riding the waves of life. I am Nita Terry T, your host of Unspoken Truth. Season 3, Episode 4, Living a Parallel Life. Sometimes we find ourselves feeling very much so miserable and thinking just only if I had taken a different direction, I'd be at a better place. If I were to challenge you to sit with yourselves and view your life parallel to each other, your current life and life you lived 5 years ago, and you analyze if the path you had taken would have been any different. The reason behind this episode is to help one navigate through their life with a sense of appreciation and with no comparison to others and minimal regrets, and understanding life has redirection but leads to where you need to be. If only I had, place in your head, maybe life would have been different. Only if I had is the poison of progression. But let's dissect this parallel living. Imagine a life you had planned and you look at the life you're living now. Are there any similarities? Would you change anything then, 5 years ago, and anything now, currently? If there are things you would take from each life, what would it be? And do you think the result of your life would be different if you take those things? So I want you to take a moment and a second to just think about it. And if you have answers, or if it took a while, this is the reason. So, if you paused and had to think, that means you are on the path you actually had to be on. And if you had quick answers, that means you're living in regret and not fully living. A lot of us are living a parallel life of comparison, of a reality that never existed, just an assumption that life would have been maybe easier, maybe that relationship was better than the current one you're in, or that if only you never met some people, life would be different. Maybe only if you took the other job or a different degree and you literally hitting yourself to a pulp internally. Trust me, that will never change the course of the future or your current life. It may be delayed, but it's not denied. Story time. Let me tell you my story. What's Unspoken Truth podcast without me sharing my lived stories? I once lived a parallel life. When I had my son, I was 20 years old. At that point, I wasn't so sure the direction my life was going to take. I would imagine a world I would have had no son. Maybe a life would be different. I would have had my degree, had been a practicing lawyer by that time. All that would play in my head. Maybe I'd have the job of my dreams, a corner office. And now that I had my son, it felt like life had taken a 360 turn. And I never saw the light of finding some form of happiness or gratitude at that point of my life. I never took it as an assumption because there is no guarantee that life would have gone as I planned or wanted. I'm not sure how that direction would be. It was just wishful thinking and realizing my peers were at universities finishing their degrees while I was dragging myself through life with a newborn. Just imagine the people you went to high school with are going to school at universities. They've got stories, they've got lives. They're just living a life of being on campus and being on residentials at campus. But I had my son. I had a newborn, and it felt like life had come to a standstill. And as much as I am a strong character, it played a very hard psychological games in my well-being. I wasn't coping because I was comparing myself to my peers, to my friends. I felt like I had less than others, not realizing that my path might have taken a redirection. And even if it felt so hard, I couldn't have known that the path I was on was my path, my story. And that even if there was a detour, it didn't mean my life would stay the same. It would change for the good. Not knowing that dragging myself through life would be life experience and also work experience I gained even without that degree. And those few modules I took would one day lead me to wearing my gown and graduating and being a law graduate. My son is now in his teens and in high school and has been the best part of my life. So even if I had regrets, and only if I had moments, I learned to start living in the present and not in what I thought would have happened, just wishful thinking. Because I constantly would have compared myself all the time if I didn't stop to actually start living in my truth, in my journey, in my purpose, in my life, not a parallel life that could have been, a parallel life where he didn't exist, a life that I was just doing my law degree, looking for a job, having the car of my dream, the house of my dream. Right now, I'm in my current life with a teenage son who's going to high school, with a newborn child, with a husband, in our home, in a foreign country. I never would have seen that. As much as it took a detour, I've got no regrets of the life that I have now. It might not have been fast-paced in the direction in which I wanted it to be, but it's now going in the direction it had to be. Where I didn't need to be alone, where I've got a partner, where I've got my children, where I'm trying to now figure out what's the next chapter of my life without even comparing myself to others. Because that's what kills us inside. That's what kills us when we live in our heads in this parallel living. I should have this at this age. I should be living this life at this age. Comparing and constantly living in your head while you are living in the current. In your mind, you are so far back. Only if I had this boyfriend, only if I had this, only if I had this job, only if I had this money, only if I had this car, only if I took this direction. But you're not even grateful of the direction in which that you are in now. And we all fall for that. We all trapped in all that. You are not just waiting in vain. There's a purpose behind every delay. All I'm saying is that we easily fall for parallel living. When life gets tough, we forget to look at the achievements that we have accomplished right in front of us. And even if the journey took long, you would eventually get to your destination. Living a parallel life of comparison is literally holding a shovel for your grave. You will drive yourself insane and fall easily into depression. I need to repeat that. Living a parallel life of comparison is literally holding a shovel for your grave. You will drive yourself insane and fall easily into depression. I call it parallel living because they are parts of wishing for a whole new chance to life while dismissing the current and not acknowledging the future. If you find yourself trapped in what would have been and not what you have, it's a life half lived. It's just a life in your head versus the actual reality. So if you're trapped in your parallel life in your head, it's time to get out of it and start looking at what's right in front of you. What is ahead of you? The journey does take detours, but it's not the end. You can achieve more and do more. Don't look at what could have been and start looking at what it can be. Get away from the regrets. Get away from the comparisons so you can start living in the right now. Never give up on a dream just because of the time it will take to accomplish it. Time will pass anyway. It waits for no man, unfortunately. You keep going and pushing, you're doing great, and you accomplish all you need to and live the life meant for you, not that the one that you planned. Everything underneath the sun will always come to reality. And remember, even our dreams are delayed, detoured, or never come about the way we want. We can still hold on to the faithfulness of the universe, because what is meant for us will never miss us. We are our own destroyers in our heads. Our heads create a reality. Our heads compare. Our heads trap us in this wishful thinking. And I'm urging you to start living in the current. And I'm hoping 2023 will be a year for you. Don't look at the past relationships that didn't work. Look at the ones that will work in the future. Don't look at the jobs that you applied for and you didn't get. Look at the ones that you'll get in the future. Don't look at the friends that you lost. Look at the ones you're going to make along the way. Don't look at the misfortune and the things you prayed for back in the day and with regret. Look at the ones that you've prayed for now that will happen. Everything that you are doing, live in the right now. Live in the moment, because life is so damn short. You will never want to leave this world with regrets. You'll never want to leave this world feeling as if you didn't accomplish what you needed to accomplish. Start today as you hear this podcast, as it is about to end. Put your phone down and ask yourself, when am I going to start living? And you start living. You start doing that for yourself and nobody else. And I'm grateful that I get to share and I'm afforded to walk with you in this year, in 2023. And I hope I can hold your hands through life for you to understand that not everything is cast in stone. There will be delays, detours, but it doesn't mean it's the end. It's just the beginning of a different chapter of your life. And I wish you that you all vibrate in your highest frequencies. I do not know it all. I'm still a student of life. And every time I learn something, I'm always happy to teach those that are listening. Thank you for your consistent support always. I really appreciate it. And I hope that until the next episode, you work on yourselves and you say to me in the comment sections on Instagram or Facebook that, Nita, I'm now living in the right now, because we all deserve that. I thank you.
The Unspoken Truth is the catalyst for important and thought-provoking conversations that need to be had. The network tackles social ills, spiritual healing, soul-searching, and mental health awareness. To subscribe, click on the show link to follow our podcast and be part of the Unspoken Truth family. Find us on all social media platforms.